Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment, and we're back here this week for our final week of our series of the top 5 movies for each year from 1965 up to 1979. Finally reached the 1979 mark. Feels like a really long haul once we put in some little vacations and weeks off and scheduling conflicts, but we finally got here. Joined this evening by my buddies Rich Strickler. How's it going? I know, Rich, you're not a big NBA guy, and good thing you didn't watch the NBA All-Star game last night because it was like the worst display of basketball I've ever seen. It's terrible to watch. Randy, who's getting ready to take a big trip to another continent. As soon as he's done with us, he's like, I'm out of here, boys. And so we're going to let him go last tonight so he'll be able to milk it for all it's worth. And Doc, who was just debating with us what his top 100 movies of all time would be. And he said 12 of them had, you say Leslie Nielsen in 12 of them? Yeah. I can't wait to see the list, Doc. So it's 1979, guys, the end of a decade. Decades are a weird thing in music and movies. I always find that you can definitely tell the change between one decade to the next. There's always a different feel. And 79 to me felt like a really strong year. I had a really hard time with number 5. It was between 3 films when it came down to it, and I just picked number 5 this morning when I was at work. I finally said, all right, I got to pick one, and I picked it. What did you guys think in 1979?
I'll just sum it up in one sentence. The best year of the decade of the 70s for me.
Wow.
The best. Number 1. As far as depth.
Yeah, a lot to choose from.
I think that's true. There was a lot of really good movies to consider for this year, I thought.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, man. We could have 20 different movies, man. We really could. It's loaded. This year is just packed.
Yeah. So the order tonight is Doc, he gets to go first, and then Rich, and then myself will go third, and Randy, like I said before, he gets to bat some cleanup. So Doc, get us going for 1979. Let's jump right in.
Like we just touched on, man. This was really tough. I was changing like you, Brian. I had 7 movies. I was debating at number 5, man. So I can't lie. It came down to almost like a coin flip. So I got Kramer versus Kramer here at number 5.
Okay.
I could have had many movies, man, and we'll get to our honorable mentions at the end. But I just think for acting and everything that happens in this movie, it's a real, Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep are really fantastic in this divorce movie where, he takes care of the son, she wants out of the marriage, and then the divorce and the struggles afterwards. And it's a real emotional tug on you in one sense or another, but it's really well made. It's really well acted. I think it's one of the better acted movies of the 70s in a lot of senses with both of them. I think Hoffman's fantastic in this movie. And I had a tough time separating what I put in this spot here because some big names are not here from my list for number 5. But I just came down to, I just spread it out somehow another way. So I just put Kramer versus Kramer in here based on acting. So I want to spread the love.
There you go. Excellent. Rich, what do you think?
I love his pick, but I went in a little different direction. My number 5 is The China Syndrome, starring Jack Lemmon, Jane Fonda, and Michael Douglas. And the main reason I took it, not only is it a good, well-made film, but it was so topical because 3 Mile Island happened like 12 days after, this meltdown of the nuclear plant. Not a meltdown, but a leak. Very impactful. 3 Mile Island, of course, is my home state of Pennsylvania, which, shook everybody up as it did the whole country at that time. But it's more about the media. Again, Jane Fonda played this reporter who's sent out to do really a fluff piece. And it turns out that she's into this huge story. And Jack Lemmon, she tries to coax into talking. Michael Douglas is a cameraman, and he gets some interesting shots of what's really going on. And she happened to be in the right place at the right time. Jack Lemmon, one of his later day extravaganza, virtuoso performances. He's excellent in this movie, as he always is. And, cover up ensues and this and that. So I just think it's a really well-made film directed by James Bridges. The China Syndrome is my number 5. And it was a tough battle to get there because 6, 7, and 8 could have easily made my list.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah, this one here, this was the toughie, man. I had to ultimately go with, the last three were just really tough. This one here is a movie that I really just enjoy watching, even though like you would think by just the glance of it that it would feel like it's dated, but I like Time After Time. Sorry, Malcolm McDowell and David Warner, who does this fantastic job as Jack the Ripper. It's a story about H.G. Wells, who of course invented the time machine. It's kind of that fictional story, and he, Jack the Ripper ended up showing up at his house and ends up using his time machine to go forward into the future, and H.G. chases him into the future. And ended up falling in love with Mary Steenburgen, who does an excellent job in the film as well. Kind of a closed loop time travel kind of thing. It seems like that you just can't avert the bad things that are going to happen, and there's some couple misdirections there to kind of work in the favor of the protagonist. But again, just a great performance by David Warner. For him, he plays that great suave bad guy in a lot of things. I think even later on, and he was in Titanic as kind of a bad guy in a way. So I really enjoy it. So Time After Time, number 5.
That's a really good one. I remember seeing that in the movie theater, and for a time it was one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
For that period, it was really well done. I like David Warner. Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen, like you said, are fantastic.
Yeah. What about you, Randy?
Well, I had a really tough time with number 5. There was all these films I thought were important, but then I just decided, well, I'm just going to go with the one I have a lot of fun with. It's the same one as Brian had, and I have Time After Time here.
Nice.
I think maybe I even like the idea of the movie as much as the movie itself.
Yeah.
About going back in time to catch Jack the Ripper. But and it's kind of interesting that Malcolm McDowell had been playing these villainous characters, and here he's playing the good guy in this one. And like you said, David Warner does just a great job. Got that great romantic storyline with Mary Steenburgen. The only thing I thought was the special effects in this one were not very good at all. The time machine, which was done before that, had better special effects, but it was the whole idea and the acting and everything that brought it up. Written by Nicholas Meyer, who also did the directing.
He did direct it.
I didn't really know him. Then I saw, he did The Wrath of Khan and some other movies, but in the end, it also kind of looks at how society has not progressed much as he goes into the future. But it's just a fun flick.
Yeah, I think David Warner's character said, here in the future, I'm just an amateur.
That's right.
And I'm like that. I thought that was poignant of the message there. So, all right, we're at number 4 then, Doc.
Just like that, number 4. My number 4 sounds like Rich's number 5. So I just like the China Syndrome. I'm just much more. So this is really a tough year. So yeah, I love Jack Lemmon. I think he's fantastic in this role, and I know it's meaningful at the time that it happened when this movie came out because of what was going on. But when I saw this movie, I saw it in the drive-in. I say that a lot, but it's where I saw a lot of my movies at this age. So I loved it, even at that age. Man, I thought it was fantastic. Michael Douglas, like you touched on, being the cameraman, and Jane Fonda looking for a story that looks like it's going to be really just a filler piece on the newscast that they're going to drop in someplace. And it turns out there's a real disaster that's happening right in front of their eyes, and how it unfolds there. Wilford Brimley and his character, and the interactions as it happens, and even the way it's shot in some scenes where you can see the commotion going on behind the glass and stuff like that when they're filming it and stuff like that. It's all silent. You can't hear a thing and stuff like that. I just love the way it's shown to you in a lot of senses too. So it's you can hear them, but you can't, and it's the chaos behind it and everything else, and how everyone tries to stay calm behind it. And the real story's there. China Syndrome is kind of an underrated movie. We've talked about it before in some of our previous videos. I love the movie, man. I think China Syndrome, the top 4 I was a little easier with when I got to mine there. My number 5 was really tough. China Syndrome's in there.
Very
Rich,
good.
what do you think?
Well, looks like Doc and I are playing flip-flop, because I have Kramer versus Kramer at number 4.
Right on, buddy.
Everything you said, it's just heart-wrenching, touching, but realistic at the same time. It's an actor showcase. That's why I have it here too. 2 marvelous performances, really career-type performances by Hoffman and Streep. And you believe everything you're watching. Their fights are, legit. Hoffman lays it on thick, throwing glasses around and backs her into a corner in the elevator, I believe, at one point. But the kid's very good, Justin Henry. They cast that role very well, with the puppy dog eyes and the shag haircut and so forth and so on. It's a great script. It's fair. It's balanced. It doesn't really play favorites, I don't think. It shows warts and all, both characters. Lays it out for you to decide. And, it's one of the great divorce movies that I've ever seen, child custody, all that stuff. So Robert Benton is the director, a good, solid director of that era. So Kramer versus Kramer, number 4.
Wow. Yeah. It was up there for me, that's for sure. For number 4 for me, I went with movie by Don Siegel here. I got Escape from Alcatraz starring Clint here. Just a movie I feel like I can just watch, again and again. And even if I come in the middle, I want to carry it over to the end. He plays the character Frank Morris, it's all based on some real stuff. And Clarence Anglin, who famously escaped from the seemingly impenetrable Alcatraz federal prison in 1962. I like it because it kind of breaks down all the meticulous planning and how the trio uses ingenuity to kind of outsmart the prison guards and get around some of the measures that are in place. Great slow build for tension and blending suspense when it, and at the same time kind of showing all the harsh reality of life on the rock. So Eastwood's portrayal in this, I think it's a little bit more reserved role for him, which I think really kind of helped his career in a lot of ways. He's able to kind of pull back and use a little bit softer techniques in his acting and stuff. And I think it really served him well in his acting. So I put Escape from Alcatraz right here.
Good one.
Yeah.
Very good.
To me? All right.
Yes.
Well, my number 4 is going to be one of Rich's favorite directors, Hal Ashby's Being There. For me, it's maybe my favorite of Hal Ashby, up there with Harold and Maude. But it's kind of a wonderful, unique film that with maybe Peter Sellers' best performance as this simple-minded gardener and lover of television that gets mistaken for an important businessman after the death of his employer, where he's employed at this big mansion. And it's kind of a great critique of the ambiguousness of society and the randomness of so much decision making that these big businessmen are making. It's hilarious how he imitates what he sees on TV. And the only one who really sees the ridiculousness of his rise in the business and political world is the former maid who sees him on TV. Well, I guess later in the film, Richard Dysart, the doctor, kind of figures it out. But it's a delight with a great final shot. And the only thing about the film is that one thing that Peter Sellers hated is they put these outtakes on the credits, and he thought it ruined, the final scene in the movie. But great film. I liked it.
Nice. I was wondering whether one of you two would have it, so that they made it. So, Rich, you get the. Oh, Doc, you're back here at number 3. You get to kick us off again in the next round.
See, since it's my list, I really don't care what other people think. So this is my list. I don't care. I got Rocky 2 at number 3 for me, man. So
okay.
I think it's a classic sequel to what I consider still one of the greatest sports movies ever in Rocky, and it picks up right where it leaves off in Rocky 2. And I love how the story grows from. I think it's a great continuation. It's not the same elk here as The Godfather, but it's got the same kind of thing. It just picks up right where it left off, and right after the fight. And, once again, it just grows on the love story that Rocky has for Adrian, and how it goes from there, and how their life changes, and he doesn't want to fight anymore, and everything else. He's trying to make a living and support and do everything he's supposed to do as a loving husband now to carry on his life with her. But meanwhile, he realizes, after it's all said and done, there's only one way that this happens. He's still getting egged on by Creed to come back in the ring because he's feeling the heat on the other side for how well that Rocky did in the first fight. And I think it's a fantastic sequel in the sports realm on top of everything else. I've said this before. This is Stallone's cream of the crop, 1 and 2. Maybe First Blood or something like that later on. I don't mind and stuff. They're good, but this is his best in my eyes, and it's made his career in a lot of senses. But Rocky 1 and 2 are 2 of the better sports movies in my eyes, and I've got no problem having number 2 here in my top 5 of 79.
Okay. All right. Rich, what do you think?
My number 3 is a little coming of age film set in a small town called Breaking Away, directed by Peter Yates. Bloomington, Indiana is the setting, a small town in the Midwest. And Dennis Christopher is actually the lead actor here, a young kid that's in between figuring out what he's going to do with his life after high school, that certain age where you're not sure what your future is, college, go to work, whatever. And he's got these friends, Dennis Quaid, Daniel Stern, Jackie Earle Haley. They're a great cast, and they're they're cyclists, and they're going to do the little Indy 500 race, which comes to town every year. And the kid's obsessed with Italy and speaking Italian, and some great father-son moments. I love the chemistry between the kids. They hang out at the quarry where the local, I guess it's limestone or something's cut, and they're called cutters. That's what the rich kids call them in town. They're sort of looked down upon, but they stick together and they're lifelong friends. I think it's a total gem of a movie with a brilliant script by Steve Tessich, who died very young after he made this movie. And Paul Dooley as the father is outstanding as well. So this always had a place in my heart. I wanted to put it in this list here. Breaking Away, number 3.
Excellent. Great choice there, Rich. I've also got Breaking Away here at number 3. And this is the one I had to rewatch. This is the one I said I had to rewatch to make sure. And I thought it was great. I looked at some of the lists that it ended up on. It actually, I was on AFI's list of the top 10 sports movies of all time. So I think it's really good. I mean, I like all the performances in it, not just Dennis Christopher's. I think Daniel Stern even. I mean, very early in his career, and Quaid, and then Jackie Earle Haley, right, is also like one of the friends there. All very powerful performances. I can speak to. I know how this is like on both sides, from being in communities in which there is a college, the difference, how the locals are treated by the college community and vice versa. There's always a lot of animosity there. I've been the local, and I've also been the person who's been at a university. So there always is that weird tension there. I know it won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay as well. So that's a great choice, Rich. And I'm glad I revisited the film. It definitely is warranted to be in the top 5. So I got great.
Yeah, I'm glad I have some company. I thought I was going to be on my little limb by myself on this, but no,
I liked it a lot.
I'd like people out there, if they haven't seen this movie, to check it out.
Yeah, I love these slice of life movies like this. Yeah. These are really nice. Yeah. What do you think, Randy?
All right. Well, my number 3 is Alien, Ridley Scott. It's kind of a masterwork of building tension, and the sets in this are tremendous. And Sigourney Weaver, she just really shines here as the security officer that they should have listened to from the beginning. And her classic final battle with the alien is just tremendous. And it's kind of this got this unique blend of science fiction and horror, with many startling scenes, many that are classics. And for this to be number 3 means that 1979 was really a great year, because
it was. It truly was. All right. Already to number 2, Doc.
Number 2. I got Apocalypse Now here, man.
Apocalypse Now. Okay.
To Randy's point, this is a tough year, man. this is a powerhouse, man. So, this is one of the epic all-time war flicks, if you want to get right down to it. And the way that this is shot, I can't harp on that. This is like serious movie making, man. This is really, really well shown, and it holds up, man. It still looks fantastic. It still shows great. The acting is top notch, and the sets and the scenes and how they did some of these things, man. This is a war movie in the 70s. Coppola's his direction is top notch. I can't stress that enough, man. He shows you everything you want to see in this movie, and the way that he handles the camera, zooming in and out of different scenes. I mean, you're right in Martin Sheen's face on some scenes, and you're seeing, 5 miles of stretches at other scenes. So it's incredible the way that I think this gets presented to you as the viewer, and how you watch this. But it's very tense at certain scenes, man. It's very scary, I guess, in some senses too. This is a war movie, man, and there's an emotional ride, especially for Martin Sheen's character throughout this thing. So you're going after one of your own and stuff like this. Apocalypse Now is just a classic war movie. It's just made my number 2 this year, man. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, Rich.
Great choice. My number 2 is one. Again, I'm probably on the limb, but I just love this film, and that's Woody Allen's Manhattan. I had to put it up this high. I think it's one of his best, if not his best. Co-starring Diane Keaton, Mariel Hemingway in a fantastic performance, Michael Murphy and Meryl Streep again in a supporting role. It's got this black and white cinematography by the great Gordon Willis, George Gershwin music. It's really a classy looking film with the architecture of New York and these neurotic characters that inhabit it, and relationships and in and out of relationships. Brilliant dialogue, witty, and life imitating art, where you have Woody Allen, who's 42, and his girlfriend at part of the movie, 17. Maybe not for everybody's taste, but somehow it works in the context of the movie at that time. And it is in contention for one of Woody Allen's top 2 or 3 movies for me. So I'm putting it up high. Manhattan, number 2.
Wow. All right. Fits your personality.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to go with what Doc had at number 2. I've got Apocalypse Now here as well, mostly because Charlie doesn't surf. And
I think he should.
Really should after what happened to him. Anyway, yeah, it's directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Doc's touched upon a lot of it. Martin Sheen as Captain Willard is really good. And of course, there's the iconic role from Marlon Brando as Colonel Kurtz. What I really kind of like about the movie as well is that while you're taking the trip down the river to get to Colonel Kurtz, you're also kind of taking a trip back in time, almost like the history of Vietnam and Cambodia as you're going, and because some of the people get more and more primitive as you're going there, and that's kind of the interesting thing to me. Got some some youthful performances. Lawrence Fishburne's in this, very young portrayal here. Robert Duvall's character is just absolutely incredible in it. The smell of napalm in the morning, and I love that everybody loves the scene of the helicopters coming in with Wagner's Ride of the Valkyrie just blaring out of speakers and decimating this Vietnamese village so that he can watch his professional surfers surf on the beachhead there. Just tells you about all the absurdities of the things that happen in war in a very serious way. So Apocalypse Now had to be here. It's very powerful. So
very good, buddy.
Yeah. Randy, what do you think?
Well, my number 2 is Rich's, and it's Manhattan, Woody Allen. I think this is Woody Allen's most stylish film. And like you said, the stunning black and white cinematography, Gordon Willis, who did the Godfather movies. It's got this great combination of comedy and romance, but also heartbreak. It's kind of a love, and it's also kind of a love affair with the city of Manhattan and how it's shot. Woody is great at pointing out things that destroy relationships, and we see that with Meryl Streep, his former wife, and Diane Keaton, who plays the mistress of his best friend, which he ends up going with. What could go wrong there? And then his romantic relationship with the high school girl, which was controversial, like you said. But the interesting part about that is that she seems to be the most adult of all of them in this movie. But it's just a gorgeous film, and between that and Annie Hall is my favorite of Woody's.
Excellent. Wow.
Excellent.
A lot of love for Woody Allen. Love it.
Deserves it.
Doc, we're at number 1, buddy. Break it to us.
Well, okay, number 1 is I had Apocalypse Now, a great, top tier war movie. I got a top tier sci-fi horror flick at number 1, man. I got Alien here. This is right in my wheelhouse, man. Don't know what to tell you. Sci-fi horror. Great cast: Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Yaphet Kotto, Ian Holm. There's Ridley Scott's my favorite Ridley. So we already talked on that, but the suspense, the build-up, everything that happens in this movie, and it's almost like the first half of the movie is just all suspense-driven, man. Until the alien starts showing up, man, and epic scenes, great set, like you touched on, Randy. That doesn't get talked about enough. And the water scenes coming down, and different things like that. Just a cat chasing around and stuff like this. But that ending scene is just as tense as hell with Sigourney Weaver and Ripley going and the alien having their fight up there in the front, man. That's just classic suspenseful movie making, man. Alien is one of the top 100, man. Yeah, it's on that list when we get there, boys. I'll tell you that. So, this is one of my favorites, man. Alien's number one. That was the first one I wrote down.
Perfect. Rich?
You know where I'm going. Number one, Apocalypse Now. No question for me. I mean, they might say, hey, every year you love a war film. Well, they made great ones in the 70s. What can I do? Deer Hunter in 78, Apocalypse in 79. I can't go against it. A lot of what you guys have already touched on, the insanity of war and, the whole mission of going down to take one of our own people out. But I like what Brian said about the primitive nature of it as they go down. And they start putting scare tactics like chopped heads down to scare people away. Really nasty stuff. And Doc mentioned this is a beautiful film to look at. It's like, and Coppola is a true visionary. You can tell by the way he frames the camera and the shots he takes. It's an absolute masterpiece. The smell of napalm in the morning, and very surreal at times too, and psychedelic. Took place at that time, and it's open to interpretation, I guess, towards the end. Dennis Hopper again. His walk-on scene at the end, he's completely mad. He's talking nonsense. But if you play that back again, it's poetry in a way by a madman. That's what it is. And, I can't say enough good things about it. I don't even know if I'd have to flip a coin on the best Vietnam movie ever made, whether it is The Deer Hunter, whether it's Platoon, whether it's Apocalypse Now. They're all in the running. But this is my number one for 1979.
Apocalypse Now. All right, I guess I'm going to follow along the same lines as Doc here, trying to keep with my whole Ridley Scott, love that we've been given here lately to the director. Anyway, obviously, Doc's already touched upon it. This is groundbreaking horror masterpiece that just the great tension that kind of builds, and you've really got multiple enemies. You've got the aliens, but you also got the company, and you also got Ash, who's the artificial person who's aboard there that has his own agenda, as programmed by the company. Just incredible dark feel to everything, and I think that just adds to all the tension of the film. Great cast, you get Veronica Cartwright and Tom Skerritt and Harry Dean Stanton and John Hurt. I mean, just an absolute great cast to get in a movie like that, and it spawned a countless amount of sequels and prequels and toys and all sorts of crazy stuff that all kind of spilled from all of this. She's really Ellen Ripley's now considered this ultimate feminist hero, the ideal feminist hero in a movie where she's truly the hero in every possible way. She seems to be the smartest member of the crew by a long shot, and for their decision making, and then obviously tough enough to survive it at the end as well. So Alien's got to be here for me. It's a favorite for me. So that's me. Good. Randy, you get to make the final say, buddy.
Well, it looks like it's going to be split here because I picked Apocalypse Now as well. Francis Ford Coppola. Everyone knows I'm not a huge war movie person, but for me, this is almost more like a journey, which is like a road movie down the river, but it's the journey into the heart of darkness, which is the name of the book. But and it's kind of like madness meets madness when Martin Sheen's character finally meets Marlon Brando. It's got stunning visuals, like the scene of the guy coming up out of the water. So many ones that you can think of, or when they're napalming, and just unforgettable characters as well. Quotable dialogue, like you mentioned, the horror, and if the Clash write a song after one of the lines in the movie, it's got to be a good movie. Because they did a song called
Harrison Ford was even in the movie. I mean, we gotta love it.
That's right. Cup of coffee, but he was there.
Another one with a great ending with The Doors, The End playing over it with everything.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I was going to say. The music in there is great. The Wagner, and then the Doors, The End is great. It's just a masterpiece to me.
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah. All right. So we kind of split on that one, but hey, I mean, both those films are fantastic, and and Randy also had Aliens at number 3 there. So That's great. For me, I had Kramer versus Kramer. Doc, the only reason I didn't have Rocky 2 is that I actually thought it was better in a lot of ways than the original as far as the filming and everything. It seemed like there was definitely a bigger budget for the film for sure. I just felt like maybe there was a little bit. It was too convenient that they just kind of gave everybody the happy ending that they wanted in the first one. I felt that there was a little bit of that. Not that I had anything against the movie. It's an enjoyable movie to watch.
Sure. Sure.
But that was the only reason it wasn't that I didn't decided not to include it. So, any honorable mentions for you guys? I know we covered. We have this is the first time I think that we've actually got 10 different movies. I mean, for a while we were just hovering around 7.
I've got a bunch, but Doc, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, my number 5 came down to Breaking Away, Mad Max, and Escape from Alcatraz when I eventually went with Kramer versus Kramer. So that'll give you the idea. I had The Warriors, The Great Santini.
Yeah.
The Jerk, I think, is just a classic comedy as well, in one sense. Murder by Decree, I really enjoy. Those would probably be the other ones outside of everything you guys have already touched on. That Escape from Alcatraz and those other ones that we touched on too.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Rich,
I'm just going to run through. I have to mention these, even though I didn't put them on my list. All That Jazz, Being There. My Hal Ashby escaped me there. North Dallas 40, great football movie. Alien, The In-Laws, an absolute funny ass movie. 10, Dudley Moore and Bo Derek. And Justice for All, Rocky 2, Time After Time, Escape from Alcatraz. They've all been mentioned. The Warriors, and I like Hair. I know it may not be a popular take, but I like the movie.
Yeah. Hey, Warriors! I love that on The Warrior. Yeah. That's great. Randy, you got some not mentioned?
I only got 2 that haven't been mentioned yet. It's Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Oh, Life of Brian.
Hilarious.
Yeah, true.
And then a film that doesn't get very good reviews, but I just watched it and I enjoyed it. And that's Jonathan Demme's Last Embrace with the final scene on Niagara Falls. This is me.
I saw it recently too.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I went back and watched Breaking Away. That one.
So am I.
Jumped right back in there for me. I thought that was great. I mean, I leapfrogged a lot of good movies there. Kramer versus Kramer. I just, it's odd is that I'm going to like another family oriented movie coming out in 1980 just a lot more than that one. I mean, I just, and Rich knows what I'm talking about that comes out in 80. So I was like, both are powerful films, but I just seem to like.
I'm on board with you. I like the one in 80 better too.
Yeah. So,
but it's close.
It's close. So, but that's all we've got for this week, and this is the entire series. We've managed to get through all the movies from all the years, 65 through 79. Please check out all those other years as well. Sub, like, comment down below. Leave your top 5. Tell everybody on this panel why we're wrong, especially Doc. Tell Doc that he's wrong. Tell him he's wrong. And we really appreciate everybody watching. All these videos have done really well over the last, I think these last 6 or 7 videos have been averaging about 500 at least. Some of them got up in the 1,500 to 2,000 range. So I think it's really great. Thanks for your support out there, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Peace.